Okay, so before we conclude Module 3, I want to give you about 5 tips that you can go away with and keep in mind when you're layering drums in the future. So the first one is you don't always need to layer. And I know this is a little bit controversial and a little bit almost opposed to the whole idea of this course, but the fact is a lot of samples and sample packs are already layered and often sound great by themselves. Layering is helpful when you want to add a new characteristic or when you like part of the sound but not the rest. But don't always think that you need to layer. It can be a destructive mindset to have, especially when your source material sounds good as it is. If it fits, it fits. Layering is a tool, it's not a necessity. The second tip is to focus on the time domain first before touching EQ. If you can get it sounding good with just your amplitude envelope, ADSR, as well as placement of the MIDI note or the sample, then you'll find EQ is much easier to use and also much more effective. The third tip is to keep it simple. Don't layer too many samples. If you're using 7 different layers to create a kick, then you're probably going to have a bad time. If you find yourself needing to add so many samples, 5 plus, then you've probably got bad samples, and that's just the way it is. So most of the time you're going to be layering 2 or 3 samples. Any more than that, take a good hard look at what you're doing and if it's the right way to be going about it, or if you need new samples. Tip number 4 is to layer unique sounds. So let's say in a situation where you're layering a clap, you don't just need to layer a clap with another clap. You could try, for example, a short slice of a field recording or a crash cymbal with little sustained. So just experiment, try different sounds, and come up with something new. And the 5th and final tip is to layer in context or in relation with the other elements and instruments going on around your sound, the sound that you're layering. So if you're layering claps, for example, make sure you do it in the context of the kick, because it's easy to add all these layers and make it sound fantastic by itself, but you don't want your clap to overpower your kick. So make sure that you layer in context and relation. And this goes for all situations, all applications of layering, even when you're layering synths, when you're layering basses, but especially drums. So just keep that in mind. And with those 5 tips, that concludes Module 3, which is drum layering. So in the next module, we're going to be looking at layering plucks, synths, leads, and all that kind of stuff, which will be very exciting. So I'll see you then.